Lenny Vangilder with Ken Trahan. It's a special edition of our first NBC video updates as we take a look at the regional round of the Louisiana high school football playoffs. We switch spots because Ken is truly the high school sports expert here, and I'll be the one asking the questions, the hard questions, and Ken will be the one giving the outstanding answers, if you will. Ken, let's start with 5A. What surprised you in the bi-district round?
Well, I don't know that I was terribly surprised by a whole lot. Frankly, my upset specials came through in 5A last week, and so I really wasn't that surprised by much in 5A, frankly.
What are you most looking forward to this week in terms of matchups?
Well, I think there's a lot of good matchups in 5A, but, listen, you can go across the board. You got a rematch game again, a district game, Ouachita Parish, this time at Ruston. It's tough to play a team a second time. That's pretty close to you, so that's a tough game. And I think look for that to be a very good game. The winner of that will play the winner of Rummel and Dutchtown, which figures to be a good game as well. Dutchtown's a proven playoff commodity with a lot of skilled players over years now. And Benny Sega does a great job, and Rummel is really good. Mandeville Central, look, Guy LeCompte took the Skippers to the semifinals last year. I don't sell them short. Sid Edwards has the maps at Central. He's been to the championship and won it at Redemptorist, and they've got a very good team. West Monroe, Acadiana. Listen, these are the Titans of 5A, and Acadiana's beaten them the last 2 times they played. I think Jesuit at Airlines a really good matchup. A lot of points could be scored. I think Jesuit has a real chance on the road in that game. Hahnville is at home against Parkway. What a story it would be if the Tigers reached the quarterfinals. They started 0-4 this year and were written off for dead. Bird, last year, they were a semifinal team. They got Barb, who's really good this year, in the number 2 seed. So these are delicious matchups.
Should be a fun Friday night in Class 5A. As we look on to 4A, anything really jump out at you from week 1, and what do you like to see here this week?
Well, you got 21 local teams, counting Vanderbilt Catholic, extending New Orleans all the way out toward home at Thibodaux, that are still active. And certainly Vanderbilt Catholic's got Franklin Parish this week, an 8-9 matchup, which will be a very good game in Homa. Salmon and McDonough 35, a lot of athletes. That's here in New Orleans, being played at Tad Gormley. That's a really good matchup as well. Holy Cross hits the road to DeRidder. A lot of people are pointing to St. Augustine at St. Thomas More because of the athletes that St. Augustine has and how good St. Thomas More is. And they beat St. Aug in the 5A quarterfinals 2 years ago with many of the same players on the field. So I think there's a lot to chew on there as well.
And the 2 seed, has to make the long trip to Shreveport, one of 3 teams out of the area who have to go from New Orleans up to Northwest Louisiana this week. We move on to 3A, which is not an area that's with a lot of New Orleans teams perhaps, but still some interesting matchups just the same.
Well, to me, the premier matchup, and you can read my feature online here today on Thursday, and when we do this at sportsnola.com, which is on the St. Charles Catholic matchup against Notre Dame. That's an 18 against a 2, and St. Charles Catholic is not an 18 seed. They've won 8 straight. They're the defending state champions, and they're coached by Frank Monica. Enough said. And Notre Dame's coached by Louis Cook. Enough said. Louis won a couple of state championships in the past decade at Notre Dame. That's a great school and a great tradition. They've only lost to Turlings Catholic. They're on the road. Of course, St. Charles Catholic not as talented as last year, but boy, they are a tough out. You have got to, as Louis Cook says in my story, stick a stake in their heart. They won't die. They've come back 2 straight weeks from big deficits to win. So this is a matchup not only of 2 of the best programs in any class in the state, but of 2 of the best coaches in any class in the state. I love that matchup.
As we jump ahead to 2A, of course, the immediate conversation starts with Curtis, and they've got the longest trip on the board this week. They're practically going to Arkansas to have to play their second-round game. Take us through what you like in the regional round in 2A.
No need to talk about that. Curtis wins easy. So it doesn't matter how far they travel. They're good. North Lake Christian Springfield is another district rematch, and Springfield's a better side. Ryan Surpass has a 4th seed. They're very good, but it's a rematch game, and it's at North Lake Christian, so it figures to be a little bit tougher. How about Deuce Wallace, the brilliant freshman at Riverside? Goes to Homer, blisters them for 4 touchdown passes last week, and they kill Homer in an upset big, and now they get a home game. And I think Riverside is poised to pull another upset under Bill Stubbs, who's been there, done that at Salmon, and I think they're going to win their game this week, and therefore I think they'll advance to the quarterfinals as a result. Certainly, I'm looking forward to seeing Catholic New Iberia at Carver. These are 2 of the best offenses in the class. Joey Lewis, the quarterback at Carver, and Lissard at Catholic New Iberia is really good. A lot of points in this game.
Riverside Curtis in the quarterfinals, perhaps. It could be. That was a game we saw earlier this year on sportsnola.com, WHNO TV, and it was a tough go for Riverside, but clearly they're a lot better team than they were at that point of the year. Finally, Class 1A. What did you see last weekend? What do you like this week?
Well, Country Day. They whipped St. Edmund. That was the only upset special I was wrong on. I picked St. Edmund, and shame on me. Way to go, Richard Wood and the Cajuns. And they've got for their reward, they got to go under the tank to play Kentwood this week, who's really good. So that's going to be very, very tough for them. Washita Christian, defending state champion, against a traditional power in Oak Grove, and it's on the road. So maybe a little bit of a test there in that particular game. West St. John, who I really like, is home to White Castle, but that's another rematch game of a district game, so not an easy game to play. So I'll be watching that one as well.
There's no other place to be on a Friday night to get your high school fix than right here at SportsNola.com. The best scoreboard in Louisiana. You can also watch a live stream of Ken's original on WGSO 990 AM. Of course, you can also get it at SportsNola.com. Radio stations all around the state of Louisiana will carry it as well. Ken, I know you are looking forward to another playoff Friday night.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And check out SportsNola.com for breakdowns of all the area teams and the games they're playing and who they're playing and the key players and what to happen. And then also our upset alert. Last week we were 4 for 5 in the classes, and we've done it again this week, and we'll see what happens. Hey, just to make sure you understand, we're not against any of our local teams. We're for them all winning 100%. We just pick them according to how we see them, and we'll see what happens. Should be fun.
It should be. That's a special edition of our first NBC video update. Stay with us here at SportsNola.com.